I did good traffic. I was like.
Okay, it is 6 p.m., October 26, 2022. We will call to order our Planning Commission meeting. Can we please have a roll call for attendance?
Commissioner Fajardo,
Present.
Commissioner Lopez.
Here.
Commissioner Franz,
Present.
Chairperson Isiano,
Present.
and Vice Chairperson Rodriguez Ceja absent.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do our Pledge of Allegiance. Gloria, would you be so kind to lead us in our pledge?
Sure.
Thank you, Gloria. Okay, do we have any public comments for items not on the agenda today, either in person or online?
There are none.
Okay, being that there are none, we will go ahead and move on to minutes. Planning Commission minutes of October 12, 2022 meeting. Do we have any recommendations?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay, can we take a roll call vote?
Commissioner Fajardo,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Going to abstain. I was absent.
Commissioner Franz,
Yes.
Chairperson Isiano,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, moving on to item 5.1, study session items. We have a project consultation. Staff.
Hi, good evening. Maribel Covarrubias, Assistant Planner, and I will be presenting item 5.1, which is a project consultation for a proposed new self-storage facility with associated outdoor covered storage for recreational vehicles. And a brief overview of the proposed project. The application would be for an Enterprise Way self-storage project. The applicant is 1784 Capital Holdings. Representatives for the project is Craig Lawson and Company. The general plan designation is Workplace Employment District, and the current zoning for the project site is heavy industrial. The applicant is proposing to develop a self-storage facility with associated outdoor covered storage for recreational vehicles across 9 undeveloped parcels. The 9 parcels encompass approximately 313,003 square foot site that is bounded by Enterprise Way to the south, Van Buren Street to the east, and Citrus Avenue to the west. The project proposes the development of 4 single-story buildings and a total of 185 covered parking stalls for RV storage. I will now invite the project representative to present further details on the project, Shane Swerdlow.
Thank you, Maribel, and honorable commissioners. It's nice to meet all of you. My name is Shane Swerdlow, and I'm a land use consultant at Craig Lawson and Company. I believe we have a PowerPoint. I'm not sure if it's been loaded yet. It has. Okay. Oh, here it is. Perfect. Thank you. And many thanks to Maribel and Kevin for keeping us in the loop on all of the updates that have happened citywide related to zoning and the adoption of the new Unified Development Code. That's something that we've been referencing and developing these project plans. And I'll talk about how this project conforms with the policies that have recently been adopted by the city. But I'd like to introduce members of our project team who are here tonight. So again, my name is Shane Swerdlow. I'm a land use consultant at Craig Lawson and Company. I'm joined by Kelly McCone of 1784 Holdings, the applicant, as well as other members of our project team, including Ben Egan, Jesse Ray, and Michelle Bach. We're all here to answer any questions, and we represent different disciplines from civil engineering to architectural design. And then of course, the applicant is here. So if we could go to the next slide. Some brief overview of 1784 Holdings. 1784 is a self-storage developer, an owner established in 2013, and is committed to establishing the highest standards within the self-storage industry through state-of-the-art construction, upscale architectural design, professional management, and enhanced security. Here you can see photos of some of their existing properties showing typical exterior and interior spaces. But the overall goal is to really elevate public perception of self-storage and create an exceptional customer service experience that people enjoy coming to when they access self-storage. Next slide. So Mirabel introduced the project site. It is located in a part of the city that feels relatively remote. It's industrially zoned, but largely undeveloped at the moment, and separated from other portions of the city by the I-10, the Whitewater River, and railroad tracks. So it's a fairly quiet area. On the east side of the site is Van Buren Street. The south is Enterprise Way. And the west is Citrus Avenue. And Valley Sanitary District Treatment Plant is located directly across the street. So when thinking about all the potential locations where self-storage and outdoor RV storage would be appropriate, this is a particularly compatible location given the existing surrounding uses and the high demand for the uses that are being proposed as part of this project. Next slide. So this is a site plan showing what's proposed. As you can see, the majority of the site would be used for outdoor RV storage, which would be covered with canopy structures over the parking spaces. But in assessing the program, the demand at this location and in the Indio area is particularly high for the RV storage versus self-storage. So there is a limited amount of self-storage being proposed along the perimeter of the site. The buildings, the 4 buildings that are proposed would all be single story and are shaded green. In blue, the green shading identifies where the self-storage units would be located. The blue shading is where the customer service office would be. And so the main entrance and access point for the site would be on Enterprise Way. There would be a secondary access point on Van Buren. And then the orange line that you see would be a screen wall of 8 feet in height that's designed to architecturally be integrated with the building. So it would read as continuous with the buildings around the perimeter of the site. That wall would be set back 10 feet from all property lines as required under the new Unified Development Code for the IH heavy industrial zone, which now applies to the site. And there would be customer parking right next to the customer service building. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, this is now in the heavy industrial zone. The project has been designed to comply with relevant zoning regulations for this zone. Outdoor storage is a permitted use in the IH zone. Mini storage or self-storage is allowed through a CUP process. So we haven't yet submitted for entitlements. We appreciate this opportunity to get your early feedback and introduce you to the project, but we do intend to go through an entitlement process that would include the CUP and design review. As far as setbacks go, the project complies with all setback requirements, meets and exceeds automobile and bike parking requirements. 19 feet in height is within the maximum height limit. It complies with FAR and law coverage, and the significant landscaping throughout the site and the perimeter would far exceed the minimum requirements on the code. We'd have about 40,000 square feet of open space and landscaping. Next slide. So these are renderings and elevation views of the project, really at that main entrance point where the customer service office would be. But all of the exterior materials are part of the brand identity for 1784 Holdings, and have been designed to create an upscale and a contemporary architectural design that really complements the desert landscape. So we're still developing the landscape plans, but the idea is to have drought tolerant desert landscaping around the perimeter. And this exterior design you see is something that 1784 has used in a lot of their desert projects because the mix of colors and materials really complement the desert setting. I do have material samples if you're interested in seeing them, but essentially what you see in the reddish auburn color would be a split face concrete masonry unit block. And so we really like the warmth of that color and how that would add some expression throughout the site. Oh, cool, thank you. I have some more too. So that would be offset by this gray pewter block color, which would be kind of a secondary to the auburn. And then there's a lot of metallic components. So the whiter cloud color would be a fine finish stucco. And then there would be metal paneling on the property as well as dark metal trim and awnings. So Sorry, I'm holding a lot of different objects, but you can see there's a lot of dark gray colors that would complement the auburn and the pewter colored block. So thank you. Next slide, please. And so this would be a view. So what you just saw was where we really want to have the buildings along the perimeter to help conceal the RV storage inside, but we would also have the screen wall that would be 8 feet. And again, you see that mix of the reddish and the grayish colors, along with the canopy structures at the interior of the site, which would really add that dark accent that would unify the site with the dark metal components in the building. And again, you see the desert landscape in the setback areas. Next slide. So these are some photos of an existing recently completed comparable project. I think the upper photo really provides the best view of what those colors would look like on the site. So you can see that mix of the block, the stucco, and the metallic components. Next slide. So that concludes our introductory presentation. Again, thank you for the opportunity to introduce this project to you. And we're happy to answer any questions or listen to any feedback that you have as we plan for our entitlement submittal.
First of all, thank you for the presentation
Absolutely.
and bringing the samples. That's always it's helpful. The colors on the screen don't always match what actually ends up being put up. So a couple of questions. You keep mentioning the word canopy.
Yes.
So what is the canopy made of? Is it that material that is kind of tied down and is very easy to the wind to destroy and then you end up with nothing? Or is it more of a metal like what we've seen in some of these pictures?
So they're going to be substantial canopy structures over the RVs. I'd actually like to invite our designer, Michelle Bach, to respond to that question.
Hi, good evening. Michelle Bach with the APC Architects. The canopies are structural metal canopies.
Okay.
So fully formed structural column footings, full structural steel.
Excellent. They're not going to get taken by the wind.
No.
Thank you very much. The word canopy always makes me a little nervous,
of course.
right? You never know.
It's a lot like exactly like if you're in a parking lot, the covered
Yeah.
parking structure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. That works. All right. I had another one. Okay, the setback. Since this isn't a WED work employment district, how many jobs? And I know the construction period is one thing, but once it's built and running, how many jobs? And will they be full-time jobs, part-time jobs? What are you looking at for a facility like this?
So yeah, typically there are 3 to 4 jobs that would be on the site, and then there would be other additional jobs associated with management of the facility. So that's approximately what would exist.
Okay, so 3 to 4. Okay. Are any of those jobs full-time or are they mostly part-time and maybe you have a site manager, or what kind of jobs are they?
Yeah, so there would be an on-site manager, there would be customer service staff, and the customer service, I think it's about a 1,500 square foot office. So that would be mainly the on-site staff who are there during the hours of operation when customers could access the facility.
Okay, but are they full-time or part-time?
They're
Full-time?
Okay.
Full-time. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. I noticed you've done other projects, but have you done other projects in the Coachella Valley?
This is a first for the
So this
Coachella
is the
Valley.
first one.
So yeah, 1784 was established in Arizona. So it's done a lot in desert settings, has really
Okay.
expanded throughout the country. Our firm has closely been working with them on projects throughout California, but we're excited to have this first in the Coachella Valley in India.
Okay, thank you. Those were my questions.
Thank you.
And maybe this is more for staff, but the CUP would just be for the mini storage aspect, correct? Everything else, the majority of the project is for RV storage, which is permitted in the zoning. Okay,
My question is more for staff,
okay.
so we.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Oh, sorry. Commissioner Fardo, did you have any questions for the applicant?
No, just want to say thank you very much. Very impressed by the schematics, and I do appreciate the use of the block wall and the different colors there. I agree with that appeal. So thank you, folks. Appreciate that.
You have questions for
Yeah, I have
Maribel?
a question for staff, or maybe perhaps Kevin can answer. have we did an assessment or how many storage facilities do we have proposed? And how many are do we have in our city? Such as these types of projects that are in a workforce development or workforce zone.
Proposed right now, I would say there's 3 or 4 applications incoming or in review. In construction, probably another 3 currently.
And these are currently in the workforce zone, right? Is that what it's called?
One is on Commerce, so that would be in the workforce, and there's another storage on Dr. Carrion and Dr. Carrion and Calhoun, and we have Citadel storage on Monroe and Oleander.
Mhm.
You have another question?
No, go for it.
Okay. Are there any other, this is not just mini storage. This is, the majority of this is RV storage, correct? For big vehicle parking.
This particular project? Yes.
Okay, so when we separate the mini storage from the RV parking, how many are this style with mostly being RV parking? Any idea?
More or less the other storages under construction are both mini storage and RV. So they share a proportionate.
But are they mostly, this one is majority RV storage, right? Are the other
Yes.
ones majority, are they split 50-50?
Split.
Or 50-50? Is there another one anywhere near this particular, across from Valley Sanitary District? That's kind of a very little niche of its own. Is there another one close to that? Or what would be the closest
The
one?
closest would be on Commerce
On
Street.
Commerce, which is a little bit up.
Mhm.
Okay. That's all I have.
No, if there's no other questions for staff, I guess the applicant will continue to work with staff, and
Yes.
seems like they're taking, everything into consideration and being compliant with the IH zoning. So we look forward to seeing more on the project as it moves further along.
Yep. Great. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Maribel.
Chair, sorry to interrupt, but could we check to see if there's any public comment on the
Yes,
item?
of course. Do we have any public comments?
There are none.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to public hearings, we'll go ahead and go to first item 6.1 Palmera Development Project, 346 multifamily for rent and for sale residential units, and 1-story and 2-story buildings with some homes having 3rd level sky deck. We have a staff report on this. Okay. Are you doing staff report for? Okay,
Once he's done talking, then.
okay.
Should we move it then?
Should we?
No, because Kevin's the next item.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's up to you guys, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, we'll just take a quick recess until Kevin's ready to join us.
Yeah, or I can present it, whatever you guys.
Oh, if you're ready to present, then by all
Yeah,
means.
I can present it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this is for the Palmera Development Project. I have to tell them to go to the next slide. Can you go to the next slide, please? Do you do the slides or do? No, okay. This project is requesting a plan development permit approval. This is Planning Commission authority. It was reviewed under the new zoning regulations in the Highway 111 corridor specific plan. It's going to be across parcels 611-110-039, 611-420-001, 611-420-003, 611-110-047, 611-110-046, or 611-110-043, and the project is located north of Requa Avenue, southeast of Requa Avenue and Rubidoux Street. It's a 346 multifamily market rate for rent and for sale residential units on approximately 25 acres. The units would develop 1 and 2 story buildings, with some having a 3rd level sky deck. The floor plans range between 685 square feet and 1,625 square feet, with the tallest building height being 34.5 feet. Amenities at the proposed project would consist of pools, spas, parks, dog parks, and it would contain desert-friendly landscaping. So the next slide shows the site location. And again, this project is going to be on construction on these 6 legal lots that are north of Requa and east of Rubidoux Street. Next slide. This is the proposed project site plan. So it's going to be constructed site A1, site A2, site A3. All those sites are going to be apartments. And then the southern portion, site B and site C are going to be, site B is going to be apartments as well, horizontal apartments, and site C is going to be townhomes that are for sale.
So only the townhomes will be for sale?
Yes, yeah, and those are going to be located on site C only. So site A1, A2, A3, and site B are going to be apartments. And those are going to range from 1 bedroom to 3 bedrooms. The townhomes will also range from 1 bedroom to 3 bedrooms. The building elevations, the proposed buildings would vary in height, with 1-story buildings being on the shorter end at approximately 15 feet. If you go to the next slide, there's a rendering of, this is plan 1. So this is going to be the 1-bedroom apartment, horizontal apartment. Next slide, please. This is plan 2 of the apartments as well. And that is about 15 feet. Next slide, please. This is plan 3. This is a 3-bedroom apartment as well. Next slide, please. These are going to be the carriage units. So they're going to have the garages underneath and the living space above. Some will have living space on the 1st floor as well. Next slide, please. And these are the renderings of the townhomes that are going to be the highest buildings at 34.5 feet. Next slide, please. The Palmera Development Project will have 2 recreation areas with pools and spas. It'll have 2 parks, 2 dog parks, and pickleball courts. One of the recreation areas will have a pool and a spa. Both parks and one of the dog parks are going to be located on the southern portion of the project site. One of the recreation areas with a pool and spa, one of the dog parks, and the pickleball courts are going to be located on the northern portion of the project area as well. All proposed landscaping is compliant with the Highway 111 corridor specific plan of drought resistant plants. Next slide, please. And again, this is just renderings of the proposed recreational areas and the parks. Next slide, please. Next slide. And next slide, please. So staff analysis, the proposed project is compliant with the City of Indio's general plan. It's also compliant with the Highway 111 corridor specific plan zoning regulations. The proposed project is covered under prior CEQA environmental review for the Highway 111 corridor specific plan and for the City of Indio general plan. With application of relevant conditions of approval, the project can be approved. Conditions of approval are binding and must be adhered to. Next slide, please. It's staff's recommendation to adopt resolution number 2309, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Indio, California, approving the plan development permit. Do you want me to keep reading that? Okay. Pursuant to the Highway 111 corridor specific plan on certain real properties located west of Monroe Street, north of Reckles Street and east of Riverdo Street for the Palmera Residential Development Project, inclusive of the additional conditions of approval specified in the October 26, 2022 staff memorandum, which I believe Jessica just handed to you guys. If you guys have any additional questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions? I'm just briefly looking over this memorandum.
I have a couple of questions there, please, Commissioner Fajardo. Off of the heels of Chairperson here, Ciano, the question was brought up so it's limited to the townhomes that are going to be for sale, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and how many of the townhomes are there? The 105, is that correct?
yes, there will be 105 townhomes that'll be sold on Site C, which is the most southern portion of the project site.
Okay, now if I am an owner of one of the townhomes, am I still able to utilize the amenities from the park across the street? And how are folks going to get across the street? Will they just have to simply walk, or is there going to be sort of a bridge or some sort of a connector to sites A and B, or site A primarily?
I believe that it'll be available to all residents, whether you're living at the apartments or the townhomes, but the applicant is here to answer more specific questions for usability. If you would like to ask them once all their questions are addressed.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and we have more questions for staff?
Yeah, question for staff. So at the beginning, you showed apartment, like one apartment with 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedrooms. Are those single story apartments? So it's not like a building with all these apartments. It's just a standalone single unit. So is that all the apartments are like that? They're all single story? So they're, except for the townhouses that are,
Some of the apartments will be 2 stories as well. The carriage units will have
The ones that have the
garages
parking.
underneath, and then the living space above as
okay,
well.
so when you look at the map,
Mhm.
I couldn't quite figure out where on the site map, where were the single stories and where were the carriages?
One of the slides,
Did I miss it, which is possible?
oh yes, thank you, Kevin. This would be an example of that. Those are the carriage end units.
Right, but where on that site map are those located or going to be located versus the single story? I know that the townhouses are on that C section all by itself, which is nice. But when you see all of those units, how do I know which ones are the carriage and which ones are the single? Because if you look at those residents that are up on that top portion, I'm curious if those single stories are going to abut the residential units that are there, or whether they're not.
So Commissioner, the applicant can go further into their site design intentions, but the goal has been that abutting the existing single family, they would minimize impacts. So the 1 stories were intended to butt up against those.
Okay.
And as you move away from them, then the taller units would
Right.
increase. So the goal has always been to minimize impact to those abutting single family residences to the north.
Okay, that's
But-
what I figured, but I couldn't really see it in here. So I wanted to know
Right.
for the record that was that.
And again, the applicant can go much further into their design
Okay.
intentions and their motivations, but in summary, that's how they intend to do it.
Okay, that's the only one I have for staff. I do have a few for the developer. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
Chair, just quickly, just to note for the record, the memo that was distributed by the Commission Secretary to those in attendance was also emailed to Commissioner Fajardo so that he has a copy of it as well, just for the record.
Did you receive that, Commissioner Fajardo?
Thank you, I did. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Then we will go ahead and open the public hearing to hear from the applicant. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman Isiano, members of the commission, staff, and commissioners who are joining us by Zoom. Good evening. My name is Tarek Shire. I am a representative to the property ownership. And with me tonight is Mr. Brent McManigal. He's our land use counsel. And on Zoom, we have the entire consulting team who's available to answer any technical questions. So we'll be able to answer a lot of the inquiries. The presentation, do you mind putting that up? We have there it is. Thank you.
So if you want to move it, just that way forward, that way backwards.
And point, is there a pointer?
There's not a pointer, it's a TV screen. So.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Excellent. We first want to recognize staff and thank them for their hard work and ongoing communication assistance. We've got the director and the manager and the city engineer who have constantly been supporting us to that. We want to thank them very much. They made our process a lot more easier in communication. So in an effort to avoid staff's presentation, we're going to focus our presentation tonight on really a couple of key things for us, which is consistency with the specific plan and the economic benefits that this project brings to the community and to the city. The community name is Palmera, and the reason for it is it's an homage to the date palm trees that exist on the property at this time. Hence the name Palmera. The healthy trees on site will be boxed and relocated to be reused and planted on the property. Hence the picture out there in the illustrative rendering showing the date palm trees. When fully built out, Palmera is envisioned to be a 346 home residential community with two housing types, a built for rent and a for sale, in 1-story, 2-story carriage units, and a 3-story configuration. Palmera is located in the city of Indio Midtown, sub-areas 16 and 17, at the intersection of Requa Avenue and Robidaw Boulevard, just north of the 111 highway and across the street from Cardenas. The property was previously improved with a commercial building that was raised many years ago. The property is zoned neighborhood general. It is within the Highway 111 corridor specific plan. The specific plan has 6 key goals as noted on the slide. Palmera is designed to meet all 6 key goals of the specific plan and to create a community that is relevant to its surrounding area in scale, massing, size, and connectivity. Also, the project is designed to be economically sustainable with product typology that will remain relevant and withstands the test of time. Palmera also meets the development standards that are listed up here, as well as all the development standards. Palmera is designed to be responsive to the area, again, in scale, massing, and it also addresses the specific plan goals. We intend on developing the site with 346 units at an average of 13.8 acres. And we also meet and exceed the open space requirement. The vision for Palmera is to create a vibrant community that fits within the fabric of the neighborhood, again, in scale, massing, and pedestrian connectivity, creating livable open space, private yards, and communal gardens to socialize, play, connect with each other. Palmera is connected to its adjacencies with numerous pedestrian connection points as indicated in the yellow dots. Designed to feel like single-family homes with private yards, green belts between the blocks, garage and port parking, ample amenities including pools, clubhouses, sport courts, dog run, and open space. The north parcel will consist of 188 built to rent, 1-story, and a carriage unit above garage at a density of about 13 dwelling units per acre. This will help transition the scale of the neighborhood homes to the north and east. The middle section will consist of 53 homes as well, built to rent, And there will be 1-story in carriage units above garage at a density of 12 dwelling units per acre. The south parcel will consist of 105 3-story townhomes at the density of 16.5 dwelling units per acre. Homes will range in size between 685 square feet, 1-bedroom home, to 1,625 square foot, 3-bedroom townhome. Another illustrative rendering of the leasing and recreation building to demonstrate the architectural style. Getting a little more into the product typology, this is a 1-story home. There are 3 floor plans. They are all single-story, with the exception of the smallest unit to the left. These are attached. The rest are all detached. The height of these 1-story buildings will not exceed 15 feet to the top of parapet. Elevation styles is derived from the surrounding area and the natural desert color palette. Carriage homes, which Commissioner, you asked about, I'll expand a little more on that. They're limited to 17 carriage homes. They are all 1-story above garage. As indicated on the slide before you, with the star, you will find the location of these homes, and they're intentionally away from all the single-family homes to the north to keep with the single-family feel north, as well as to create vertical notes and variation to the project elevation. The maximum height will not exceed 23, almost 24 feet for this product type. Does that answer your question, Commissioner? Okay, great, thanks. 3-story townhomes. There are 105 of these 3-story townhomes. In fact, there are 2 stories plus a roof deck. And the height will not exceed 34.5 feet. They are designed to be built closer to Highway 111, in keeping with the specific plan, to create a transition from the single family height and density all the way up to a higher density towards the Highway 111, which again is the intent of the specific plan. Public benefits. Obviously, this project brings much needed economic and revitalization and physical improvement to the area. And this is by way of 1, quantitative, and 2, qualitative. Quantitative are economic benefits, and these are, as listed on the slide, increased safety by redeveloping the property, which recently has become a safety nuisance. Increased revenue to the city through increased property taxes, direct and indirect economic revitalization to the adjacent commercial and retail by having new residents come in. And also activate the Midtown District to help support the up and coming Grand Marketplace with new residents. Payment of development impact fees to the city that'll go towards school fees and municipal fees. These are the quantitative. As far as the qualitative benefits, bringing in new workforce housing, which is really needed in all cities. And this is really, it helps public safety personnel, police, fire, nurses, teachers, educators, and municipal workers to stay in the city, live in the city, work in the city, and be part of the city. Provide numerous quality outdoor spaces within the project itself, which will help relieve the local parks. Save all the healthy palm trees from the property, reuse them at the project to be reused as demonstrated in the illustration. Community outreach. We have performed several community outreach, but first let me share with you that the city municipal code requires that we notify residents within 300-foot radius of our intent for the development. The Palmyra team elected to notify 1,000-foot radius residents, which is more than 3 times the code required notification. We did have a first community meeting via Zoom, which was last Saturday morning, and there was no opposition expressed. We had a second community meeting last night, and there was no opposition expressed. A lot of good questions and great dialogue. There is support of the project from various residential neighbors. Some of them are here to speak. Hopefully, they'll share their thoughts and opinions about the project. And planning action. So we're asking the Planning Commission tonight the following. First is the request modification of the conditions of approval pursuant to direction from staff. We'll specify exactly which conditions of approval these will be, as well as we are requesting the Planning Commission approve the project entitlements in accordance with staff's recommendation, along with these amended conditions. With that, I want to thank you very much for listening to us. This is our contact information. Again, my name is Tarek Shire, and Brent McManigal is here. He'll address the conditions more specifically should you have questions. And we look forward to your approval tonight, and we'll stick around here to answer your questions.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm sure we'll have some questions. Oh,
Please.
So, Mr. McConkel is the applicant's attorney, and I think he's going to specifically address the conditions of approval modifications that were referenced by Mr. Light. Okay.
Mr. Snyder, would you like to do that now or after the public testimony?
I think I would recommend putting it on the record now, so it's on the record, and then if there's any additional public comments, the public has an opportunity to hear the requested conditions.
Okay. Yeah, we work with staff, and again, we appreciate staff, and thank you, Brent McManigal with Fenimore representing the property owner. We really have two conditions that we'd like to address tonight and request amendments. The first one is, and these are both in Public Works Condition 6C, and it's a condition that requires us to maintain all of the frontage landscape along Avenue 49 and Jackson Street, which we're not adjacent to. So we'd just like that struck out so it's not in the record where someone later on would say you need to go clean up that area of the street. So we just like to have a clean condition of approval there. The other one is condition of approval number 38. And in talking with Public Works right before the meeting, I think we just need clarification. As you saw, we have a northern piece of property and a southern piece of property. And there are some overhead lines on the north piece of property that are not on our property. And we want to make clarification that that condition does not apply to that north portion. So those are our two requests on the conditions. And we can answer any questions later on.
Okay.
Can we pull those up so we can actually read them? Because I don't have the staff report like in front of me. So I'd like to see conditions 6C and 38.
We don't have them such that we can view them on the screens, but we can read them out loud into the record if that would help, Chair. I apologize.
Yeah, or give us a copy or something.
Okay, if we can make a copy, if you will give us maybe a 5-minute recess to do that.
We could probably continue to ask questions of the applicant while
If
you're
that's
doing that.
acceptable,
Is
yes.
that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Okay. Who will be answering questions? Please.
Maybe staff after.
Okay.
I'd like to answer questions. Tarek Shire with the.
Yes, Mr. Shire, thank you so much for your presentation. A question regarding your outreach and in Zoom. Does the city, did you submit those requests, or how did you do your outreach is what my question is? And typically, do any type of community outreach via Zoom, or do you actually have a community meeting in like in some other cities? I believe we used to do that before, but I don't know if it's something that it's a new practice or.
So we, the city, do not mandate how the applicants do their outreach. Obviously, with the pandemic, there was a shift to utilization of virtual meetings. So it's up to the applicant's determination of whether they want to hold an in-person meeting or a virtual, but the city doesn't currently have any regulations to specify how the meeting is to be conducted.
So then my question is to you, how did you go about doing outreach to notify those applicants or those residents within 1,030 feet?
Absolutely. Can we put back the slide presentation? Thank you. Commissioner, the slide in front of you has a copy of the actual outreach flyer that was sent out to 1,000-foot radius residents via certified mailing service that the city also uses for the mailer of the 300-foot radius. We use the same service who sent the 300-foot radius and the 1,000. So the 300-foot radius residents received probably 2 notifications, one from the city for tonight's meeting, and then the second one from us. If you look closer to the flyer that we sent out, it has 2 dates. We do mention there the 2 dates for the community informational virtual meeting. And the reason we do it by Zoom, in addition to the change because of the pandemic, we found, I think this is off, we found that via Zoom, more people are flexible to join from their office, from their car, from their home, and we're able to get more participation than in person. And the reason we selected to do 2 different dates at 2 different time, one is a weekend in the morning, one is in the afternoon, so people don't say, well, I was working, I couldn't make it, or I gotta go to AOISO in the morning, couldn't make it. So this way we can be fair to everybody. These are the reasons why we have them.
How many attended those meetings?
On Saturday morning, we did not have neighbors attend. On Tuesday evening, we had several neighbors attend.
What was the amount? Like 5, 20?
No, it was
30?
5.
5. Okay.
5 residents.
Would you be open to holding just an in-person community meeting, maybe perhaps after 6 p.m. because you do have a lot of residents that work 9 to 5 or sometimes late nights, late evenings. So they have an opportunity because some in that specific area may not be too privy to Zoom, perhaps, but maybe doing something with our staff and holding a in-person community meeting. That would just be my recommendation.
Commissioner, thank you for the recommendation. We stayed on that Zoom for close to at least an hour plus, actually, on Tuesday evening. On Saturday morning, we were there for an hour. So somebody who wanted to join after 6 o'clock, they would have had the opportunity. As far as staff goes, again, it's not typical of staff hosting an outreach. And again, just sharing with you, we are cleaning the property. We're developing the property at a density that is 1/3 of what can be developed to be very sensitive to the community and the neighborhood. We're bringing economic development, and we feel that we're doing all the right things by the neighbors and by the city. So I don't know if additional outreach meetings at this point are really going to change the density of the plan. But I hear you and I appreciate what you're saying.
Measure, sir, Mr. Shire, just for safe measure, just to make sure that we have some community residents that are able to attend after 5:30 p.m. They may not know how to work a Zoom. It's just, I know it's not staff's responsibility, but I'm pretty sure staff would be able to help with that to make sure that we're successful at trying one more last attempt, just to make sure. And your project is great. It's much needed. And these are my closing comments, but it's just one more, just to in person. Don't want to have any hiccups.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you. I do think your project is much needed. I do think it is a great addition to our midtown section of the city. I do wish there had been one in-person opportunity because there are some people that are not as tech savvy as a lot of people are, right? But I do appreciate that you reached out. You went 3 times beyond. There have been, the city also does its normal notifications. I'm curious to see the people in the audience if we get some comments from the staff. A question for you. I noticed that there are, I think it's pickleball courts.
Correct.
Okay. So usually, and don't get me wrong, people, I'm a little older too. But pickleball courts are a lot of times associated with either senior development or 55 and over versus maybe half court basketball courts are for younger people. So I'm curious if there is any intent to maybe, if these would be 55 or older, or if there's going to be the consideration of adding like half basketball courts or something for the younger groups. Is there any thought of an age restricted area?
Commissioner, very interesting. I'm smiling because pickleball has now become the fastest growing sport in the United States. And you'd be surprised with, I play it a lot. And when I first heard about it, I thought this is really more of a senior citizens game, until I realized actually you got to be in good shape. So it has become a very popular game, and we're starting to see more and more communities ask for it. As far as the sports court, it is a sports court and it can accommodate multiple sports.
Okay.
Be it pickleball or be it a basketball hoop so it's intended to accommodate multiple sports.
Okay, so that's good. So it's going to have both. Okay, that's great. With this many units, right? I noticed that there's a pool, there's a clubhouse. I love the fact that you have started with those single story units and that you immediately took consideration of the neighbors, right? That they're not going to have these huge buildings right behind them. Is there going to be any type of like daycare or anything that will help the residents that move in there that maybe have children that need to go to work? I mean, it'd be so much easier if your daycare was in the same place that you live versus having to drive and drop off and then go to work. So I don't know if that's been anything that's been considered, or if you've done other projects like this, if there's been any that have included those kind of amenities.
We frankly have not considered it at the property because of it's a different business. It's a liability. It's do you stop it just to the people inside? What about the people outside? How does that work? It's definitely a liability and a legal point that we don't want to be involved. We're not in the business of daycare. And if there's a daycare, it's got to be done right. You got to have enough land for it, play area, health department, all of these different things that we're not qualified to be responsible for or to manage. We're not in that business, but I appreciate the comment, but no, we don't have any of these there.
Okay. I'm assuming you've done other projects of this size. Can you give me an idea of how many you've done, if any, in the desert, Southern California?
The development team has built numerous projects in many communities that you would recognize. And they're anywhere from this product typology to high-rise buildings. I myself have been involved with high-rise buildings, mid-rise, single-family subdivisions, townhomes, and product that is similar to this. What's really intriguing about this product typology is it's really very much in keeping with the neighborhood, in keeping with the community, and it helps ignite the development of the entire Midtown area with this product typology. Now, the next project that comes on may be even denser because there's already precedence here, but this is a product typology that is very much appropriate for this community at this time.
Okay, my last question is, I think it just went away. Give me 1 second. Oh, for the single story apartments, and it sounds like there's a lot more of the single story than there will be of the higher rises, and then not till you get to the townhouses. So I really do like that. The parking for those units, is it going to be like right in front of each of the units? Are they going to have covered parking? Is there any talk about solar? What is happening? We all still love our cars, so I want to make sure the parking is.
Commissioner, thank you for the question. And the answer is yes to all the above. And let me break them down. Solar is we have to follow the Title 24. It's a California mandate. So we are going to be in keeping with all applicable laws and codes. As far as parking, there are 3 types of parking spaces. Some are garage parking, some are port parking, and some are surface parking. And the answer is yes, they are in front of the units. We have a breakdown of what these are, but the more relevant part is these are not apartment units. These are apartment homes. And I say that because if you look at the typical floor plan, it is a home. It's what you would see in a typical single family home, and that's the intent. They all have private yards. They all are facing a green belt. They all have a greenery. And so the point of creating this, for instance, if you look at the unit to the far left of your screen, the attached product, that's easy to follow. That's a 1-bedroom. It has a full-on kitchen, open door to the patio, and so on and so forth. It has its own entry point and whatnot. So they are designed to appear, look, and feel and live like single-family homes. Commissioner, this product typology became very much in need right around COVID time, when people did not want to live in a high-density area. They wanted to have a bit of that single-family feel and livability. So this is a product type that a lot of people are seeking. You've got people who are living there by choice. They want to live in that product typology. You have young couples, you have young families, you have professionals. They want to live in that single family feel, and that's what it is.
Okay, so there will be reserved parking then for everybody.
That is
So it
correct.
won't be one of those where you get home and you don't know where you're going to park and you
No.
drive around for half an hour.
That
Okay,
is correct.
that
And
was
there
a
will
big
be
deal.
an on-site management as well to make sure that the property is well maintained and secured.
One more thing. Is it going to be completely gated or is it going to be more of an open property?
So the property will be gated. However, it is connected to its surrounding with these yellow dots. There are about 24 connection points, pedestrian connection points. There are multiple vehicle connection points, but they are visually connected to the adjacency of the street. They're landscaped along the adjacency. They're secured for the security of the community on the inside, but they are also connected to the community.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Commissioner Fajardo, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, thank you. And Commissioner Gloria, she brought up a couple of them here in relationship to the parking. And thank you very much for the detailed presentation. I did read through the plan, and I'm just kind of curious because you outlined here that you have a total of, speaking of parking spaces, a total of 649 parking spaces divided between garage, carport, and uncovered. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you have 346 homes, which equals about 1.9 parking spaces per home, if you will. Is there designated spaces per the size of each home? Because there's some issues with some of the apartment communities, or home communities, I should say, throughout the city. And sometimes residents have to find their way of parking across the street in retail areas, for example. And so while I like to think there's ample parking space, I also noted on the plan that there was consideration for parking off of RECWA as well. Can you speak to that as well? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Fajardo. Fajardo, my apology. There is no parking on RECWA. That's just to be clear. That's not a consideration. So if it's on a plan or map that you've seen, our apology for that map, making it to you, there is no parking on RECWA. As far as parking within the community, yes, if I may draw your attention to the product typology down at the south lot, which are the townhomes, they all have their own assigned parking in their garage. There is overflow parking for guests and whatnot. The product that is to the north of it, and so the center property and the north property, again, the parking is allocated on a per unit basis. So your analysis is about right as far as the number of parking spaces or parking ratio per unit. And that was driven by both the city requirement for parking as well as the market demand for parking.
Thank you. Now, will there be a fee for the covered parking, or is that just at a sort of come as a first come, first served basis, or are those also assigned?
No, these are all assigned, and
They're all
there shouldn't
assigned.
be a fee for it.
There's no fee for that. Okay. And then the other question I had, and you pointed it out, and I appreciate the yellow dots because that was my earlier question to staff. And I'm thankful for you mentioning the connection points here, because I was a little concerned about the property that's off of Rubidoux and how they're going to access, some of the amenities in the larger areas. And so you outlined the pedestrian points. Now, are there 3 vehicular areas where they can entrance, 2 off of Recca and 1 off of Rubidoux? Is that correct?
For the Northern Property Commissioner, there are 2 main entry and exit. One is straight up Rubidoux and one is farther west towards Monroe. There's also 2 emergency vehicle exit points, one all the way east on Requa at the east end of the property, and one all the way at the west side of the property on Monroe. So these are emergency vehicle access only.
Perfect.
As far as the property south of Requa, and again, they are separate. You have an access point, one main access point of Requa, an emergency exit or access point off of Rubidoux. And then farther south, there are 2 points of ingress and egress, one on Rubidoux and one off of the driveway just to the south of the townhomes.
Got it. Thank you for that. And then finally, the sidewalk that's right off of, this might be a staff question, the sidewalk that's off of Requa, off of what would be your north property there, will that be redone? And if so, who's footing the bill for that? Just out of curiosity.
Commissioner, this is Director Snyder. We can have a representative from the Public Works Department respond to that question. I think there's also some other questions he'll be responding to. So if you can hold on that question for just a few minutes, we'll have an answer for you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioner?
I just have one more. I'm assuming you're going to be building this in phases. So do you plan to start on Monroe? Do you plan to start, just to get an idea of how this is going to, be built out?
That's a very good question, Commissioner. Yes, the project will be built in phases, starting with the northern part of Requa. And the plan for now is to start from the east and go west. And the reason for it is we have to provide or maintain emergency ingress and egress throughout the project. Hence the reason for starting from the east going to the west. The infrastructure for that whole parcel will be developed upfront to make sure there is emergency ingress and egress. Then the second phase will be the property to the south of it. When I say second phase, they're really built about the same time. It's just a matter of construction phasing if it's a couple of weeks behind or even a month behind, but we're not talking about a year's separation. And then the third parcel or third phase would be the most southern parcel.
Which is the
townhouse.
townhouses. Okay. Any idea on timeline? I mean,
Yes.
with approval, what are you looking at for, putting shovels in the ground and getting this project going?
Yes, and we're hoping to get approval tonight from the Planning Commission because that will allow us to submit our improvement plans to the city immediately. We've been working on them and we're really looking forward to the approval so we can get started. So assuming that happens, we will submit our plans and we're looking at the start of grading in February of 2023. And then the completion of grading will be 2 months later in April of 2023. Then we would have by then the building permit in April of 2023 to get started with the construction. At that point, the infrastructure improvement will start obviously at the grading level and continue on. By July 23, we'll have the infrastructure improvement completed. And then we will start the apartment, the homes construction in July of 23. So once we're done with the infrastructure, the reason for it, as I mentioned, has to be there for fire life safety reasons. The first phase of the homes will be completed by October of 2023, so a year from now. And the last phase will be completed 5 months later. But in October of 2023, next year, hopefully we get approval tonight, we anticipate to move residents into the community.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Some of the key things that I took note of was that I do agree it would be a great support for the Grand Market coming soon. And I really did like the fact that you were planning on reusing as many of the date palms on property currently as possible. Do you have any idea on the number that you would be?
I don't, but I can tell you we obtained a tree report to identify the health of these trees and identify which trees can be exported and which trees will be reused. So I honestly don't know the number, but it's something that we can provide staff. We do have a report, so we can share that with you. But it's several. It's not a couple of trees. It's many.
Okay. And then I'm not sure if I just missed it on the plans. Is there a rental office on?
Yes, as a matter of fact,
located.
As a matter of fact, there was a slide that I showed with a rendering of the leasing office. There will be a leasing office and a recreation building. It will be managed on site and obviously maintained on site.
Okay, so indoor recreation, like library type thing, or like games for kids or something?
In the recreation building, yes. There will be a clubhouse. There'll be, recreations. We're still working on what that recreation program will be, but it's definitely something that we have considered and will have in these buildings.
Okay. And then, Kevin, I'm assuming we'll take some public comments and maybe we can address some of those items that they were requesting that we review.
Correct. That would be staff's recommendation, take public comment, and then following that, before you close the public hearing, staff can respond to the request for clarification. And also there was a request about, or a question from Commissioner Fajardo about sidewalk construction on Reckles Street that can be addressed as well.
Okay. So thank you very much for your presentation. Jessica, do we have any?
Thank you for giving me your time.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any public comments, either online or in person?
There are no comments.
No comments. Do you have a request to speak?
Yes. I didn't see anything to sign up.
So what we can do is if the commissioners are okay, typically when this happens, we ask that they go ahead and provide their public comment and then fill out the form at the end.
Okay. We'll get you a form. You can go ahead and take the podium and we'll get you the form afterwards.
Mrs. Hardy, you can go ahead. Yeah, you can just fill it out afterwards.
Thank you.
My name is Kim McGuire Hardy, and I was on the Zoom call at 5:30 on Tuesday, and it was a very informative Zoom call. I appreciate them actually reaching out to us and explaining what's going on. We live we butt up against the property where they're going to be building the townhomes. And I've lived on Bliss Street for 23 years. And trust me, I've seen everything that can happen in that Date Grove. And this to me is only an improvement. There's something that has to be done with that property. The homeless have taken it over. And I just feel that I would feel safer with a planned community behind me. And the date palms, I love the fact they want to preserve the date palms. I'll have to have a conversation with them about the feral cats because there's plenty out there. So, yeah, I think this is a good project. I like the way they're thinking, they're putting the single stories right butt up against our property. That was our main concern. I know is somebody else going to come along and put high rises there, and that would have just invaded our privacy. So I do like this project and I do support it. And, times are changing. You have to go along with the times. It'd be nice if it was the same Date Grove it was when I first moved in. But yeah, that lot has become a big nuisance. As a matter of public safety too. So I really would appreciate you to approve this project. Thank you. And I think my husband has something too. Maybe not.
Yeah, my name is John Hardy, and I live with Kim. There's a couple concerns that I did have, and that was keeping the privacy and all that stuff. And maybe the city can address this at some point, but there may not be anything we can do about it. We have a line of telephone poles going along back there, which makes it impossible to plant trees that can actually cause a blockage because they get into the telephone pole lines. And I know I was talking on the Zoom meeting too, and they had said they were talking about doing kind of a double wall, which the houses have a wall like I do, or a wood fence or whatever they got. And I'm assuming that's to keep the telephone poles in between the two walls. I'm not sure on the drawing. It's very vague on that. But that's something I would love it if the city could find a way to dump all these poles in the ground. I mean, they're doing sidewalks out front and this and back, but that just might be something that's not in the cards. Also, as far as the date trees in the grove, I love being able to use them for something, but Turek will find out that it might be better just to bring in some fresh ones and stuff, because those are dated and they're, you know, it'd be hard to maintain. There's some new ones coming up, but probably not enough for what they want to do. Then the other concern that I do have, and I know our old patron Lana was really up on this single family home, half acre, but I like the way they have this laid out. My concern is that does the city or the developers have any way to control how many people go into each unit? Because I know, for instance, like our houses on Bliss, on some of those houses, we have 10 cars per household. And I don't even know how many people living in there. And that's something that could create a parking issue, because I can tell the parking is going to be tight at 1.9 per unit, or however that works, but that's the case it is anywhere. This development kind of reminds me of the one that's at the end of Bliss, where it hits Monroe, that senior community they built right across there. And that one looks really nice and seems to be, able to keep under control. And this, it seems like this is kind of the same theme as that, as far as I could see. And also, these are questions I'll have for him direct. Are people allowed to have pets in the development and stuff like that? That's because if so, then dog parks come into play and what have you. But I was curious, and you know what I'm talking about, where the telephone poles are? That's the power lines that are between the properties that are on Bliss and the development. And you were talking online about doing there was going to be like a double wall. Does that mean like a wall on each side of a telephone pole, or?
So I apologize for interrupting, Mr. Hardy, but typically in the public hearings, we have to speak to the planning commission. We'll respond to your questions though.
Yeah.
But the audience is there. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. No further requests to speak, Jessica, online or anything? No?
There are no comments.
Okay, so we'll be leaving the public hearing open and addressing some of those questions and some other questions that commissioners had.
So at this time, we'll ask Roldan Lopez to come up and respond to questions that are public works related.
Leave it open.
And this is also an opportunity, Chair, before we close the public hearing, if you want to invite the applicant up to answer any questions that staff can answer, you can also do that too.
Okay.
Roldan Lopez, Associate Engineer. One of the first questions that I want to answer is the one about the Commissioner Fajardo regarding the sidewalk reconstruction on Requa Avenue. Typically we have two conditions. One of them is that if there's any broken or any damaged sidewalk or curbs and gutters, that the applicant needs to remove and replace. Secondly, if the existing sidewalk is not 6 feet in width and complies with ADA with a slope, then obviously it will have to be removed and replaced. Secondly is condition number 6. Yes, it does not apply to this project, so therefore it can be removed. And then to clarify condition number 38, it reads all overhead utilities less than 92 kilovolts located within the project boundaries bordering the project and or fronting the project shall be underground. We're not talking about the power lines north of Requa. We're talking about the power lines within Rubidoux Street on the south side of Requa, just to clarify that. Okay.
So that addresses both of the concerns of the applicant to have those removed from
I believe it does. I mean, staff supports.
One will be removed and one does not apply.
Both will be removed because they're, but let me clarify. The condition 6C will be removed. I believe that the condition 38 will stay, but we'll clarify that only responds to along Requa Avenue.
No, to Rubidoux.
Rubidoux Street. Sorry, I'm getting my hours. That's Rubidoux Street.
Can I ask why does 6C specify that area of 49 and Jackson?
Somehow it was a typo mistake. Mhm.
If we're truly honest, we go back and forth between staff reports and sometimes we miss it.
Yeah, that was included on another one once upon a time. Okay.
Anything else that I can answer for you?
I had another question, and thank you, sir. Now, will there be any directional changes in traffic flow coming out or going into the community as a result of the build out of the, I think he mentioned 3 vehicle access points off of Requa. Will there be any consideration or is that?
No, my understanding is that there's two access points out of Requa. The third one the one to the furthest east, that is only for emergency vehicles only. And then there's another one on Monroe Street that is also only for emergency vehicles only. Those two will be gated, so they can only be used for emergency vehicles. The other ones will have full turning movements.
Perfect. Thank you.
I have one.
For Roldan?
Yeah, for Roldan. Since you're there.
Sure.
Thanks. The comment from Mr. Hardy about the power lines, telephone lines that run along the back. So those are going to stay. There's nothing being done with those.
Yeah, those were not conditioned for those to be underground.
Okay, and the idea of the 2 walls, does that mean that there is going to be like some kind of a right of way so that they can access them for repairs and things like that?
Well, actually, that is something that they will need to get approval from the power company, from Imperial Irrigation District, because yes, you cannot put 2 walls because, IID needs to have access to them. Typically, what can be done is with the permission of the existing property owners, the existing wall, especially if it's a wooden wall or a chain link fence or wrought iron, can be removed and be replaced with a block wall.
Oh, okay. To give the access.
Yes.
Okay, but that's out of our purview. That goes to IID and the developer.
Well, yes, and also to add to what Mr. Lopez says is that legally, because this is on other property that is not the subject of this request before you, the city does not have the legal authority to condition the applicant to remove or underground on properties that are not part of the project. And so those properties are private property owned by other parties, not under the applicant's control. So in addition to what Mr. Lopez says, there's also a legal limitation.
Okay, that's fine. It's good to ask though. Doesn't hurt. Okay. I do have a couple of questions for the applicant, just easy ones.
Okay.
Thank you,
Mr.
Roldan.
Shire?
Good evening again, Tarek Shire.
Hi, since you're here, we're just going to keep asking you questions. So I'm assuming since you're going to have management on site, there is going to be limits as to how many people can live in each of the units. So you won't have 5 people in a 1-bedroom apartment and, 10 people are in a 3-bedroom apartment. Correct? I'm assuming this will all be part of the leasing agreements.
Commissioner, that was a very interesting question because these are for rent homes. They're not ownership, so they cannot be turned into a VRBO or an Airbnb, which is, I suppose that's one of the concerns, and that's when you have 9 cars. In this case, these are the residents cannot just sublease these. There's an on-site management, and there are agreements and rules. So they cannot just go out and sublease them to multiple people and all of that. So I appreciate the question. And I did realize it probably was stemmed from the Airbnb VRBO.
Okay. The other question is pets. I'm assuming there will be either limitations or size or some rules to control that part.
Commissioner, there's typically rules in all agreements for the size of pet and the numbers of pet. A number of pet is typically controlled by the state of California, but the size of pet is stipulated in the agreement. I have to be honest with you and tell you, we have not drafted these agreements to know what size of pet would be allowed.
Okay.
There will be no horses on site.
I would recommend that you talk to Kim Hardy over there when you work on the details of how many pets and what kind of pets, and she can
By
explain
all
to you
means.
why. She's very experienced when it comes to pets.
Absolutely.
All right, and also one last question I forgot to ask. These are going to be market rate apartments, correct?
That is
Rent
correct.
units.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions? Other questions?
So I have one more question. So these are market rate apartments. How many tenants are they allowed to, you're allowed to rent per unit?
So a typical 1-bedroom would be 1 or 2 people, or if it's a family, we cannot deny them to live there. That would be against the federal housing laws. We are going to follow the federal housing laws to every extent possible. We will not break the rules, and we cannot deny anybody to live there. It's an equal opportunity community, and we're going to be encouraging a high quality lifestyle for everyone to enjoy. So I really cannot tell you the number, and I'm not dancing around the question. We're just going to have to go. We follow the law and the housing laws.
And if I can supplement that, the Fair Housing Law, which is a federal law, actually prohibits local governments from placing limitations on the number of people in a household. There are some building code limitations as it relates to that, but we cannot specify through zoning, and the building code limitations are very limited. It relates back to the number of fixtures that you have in the household. But beyond that, there are federal laws that prohibit the city from imposing any restrictions on the number of persons per unit.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did any other public comments or requests to speak come up?
No.
No. Okay, then we will go ahead and close the public hearing.
Or just one other comment. I just want to know for the record. So this is Kendra's 7th week on the job. I tasked her with this. She did an excellent job. So there were a couple of bumps on the road tonight. Those are my responsibilities. So I just want the commission to know that she did an excellent job pulling this together with 7 weeks on the job. So I want to thank her and commend her. And so any of the bumps along tonight, I apologize because I'm ultimately responsible, but hope you'll appreciate your understanding and your indulgence as we kind of work through some of these bumps on the road.
Of course, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so we'll close the public hearing and go to commissioner deliberation. Any thoughts? Yeah, please.
All right. First of all, I was really impressed to see that I think the developer took a lot of time to really understand the surrounding areas and took consideration of the neighbors. And this would definitely be a significant improvement to that part of our town, which has been neglected for quite a while. So I think that would be great. I think they've done a very good job on planning the entire project, how it's laid out. It's definitely going to be a fabulous new place for people to be able to live. I think the only thing that I had that Commissioner Lopez brought up is I would encourage, and maybe staff can encourage future developers, that Zoom is great. And I do agree that sometimes it is much easier to get on Zoom, but I would like to see at least one in-person meeting and the ability to have the meeting bilingual. Make sure that there's someone there that can answer questions, because a lot of our residents speak Spanish and they still do want to know what's happening. Other than that, I really, I don't see any problem with the changes that they asked, removing of the one item that was a mistake. I think this has been one of the nicest new housing development we've seen before us in quite a while. And we are in really dire needs of more housing. And I think this will be a very nice addition to our city, and especially in that area. So I commend the developer and the staff for bringing us such a quality development. Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes. If it hadn't been for Mrs. Hardy's and Mr. Hardy's comments, I would like to see, again, I would want to encourage staff and our director when we do have these types of projects come forward, especially to this magnitude and this beautiful project. I've had 5 generations of my family in India. I'm third, and it's much needed. And so I'll just say that, but it's very important, especially in that area. I grew up around in that area, but you're in off Requa and Monroe, you do have a lot of working families. And so again, I would encourage staff next time to perhaps encourage our applicants to do a in-person meeting. Zoom is great, but there are some working families that don't really have access or have the time to click on, because their kids are usually on anyways. But I think it's a great project, it's much needed. And I'm really happy to hear from the Hardys. And I want to say thank you for your comments, because I was really concerned about that Bliss Street and, your concerns. So that really, I took that to heart. So again, thank you so much, Mr. Shire and your team and staff for tonight's project.
Thank you. Commissioner Fajardo?
Just want to echo the same sentiments as the other commissioners here tonight. Just want to say thank you very much for bringing us the Palmera community. Very much looking forward to other folks that come in to build, and I do believe that you folks have done it correctly. You've definitely followed, our new zoning requirements. Appreciate the fact that you're starting with the low density and working your way up towards 111, making the more high dense communities there that'll be available for the townhomes for sale. So we really appreciate that on behalf of the folks that I've known and become familiar with the community there. It does provide also a semblance of, I think, of positivity for our community as well, knowing that this build's coming in for a vacated space that's been vacated since I can remember. Highly appreciate the fact that we're trying to incorporate the salvageable date palm trees, but I do agree with Mr. Hardy that maybe perhaps there may be some other viable options if those aren't necessarily capable of surviving, or maybe don't really match the look and feel of the landscape. But more importantly, just wanted to say thank you for allowing these affordable homes to be brought into the community. Appreciate that and look forward to the groundbreaking. Just want to say thank you to those that came out and voiced their opinion on the matter. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Also, I'll just follow up, agreeing with Commissioner Lopez on the community outreach. It is commendable that you did expand your, base for that, but I do agree there could be a lot of the community that is just not savvy enough to participate in a Zoom meeting. But it was nice to hear from members of the neighborhoods surrounding and get their feedback. I'm very encouraged by the fact that pending approval, you're ready to, hit the ground running, so to speak, and be moving in a year. That would be outstanding to see that happen. I think this will be a key part of further implementation of our 111 specific plan and, just the growth that we want to see in that area. So thank you for bringing this project to us. With that being said, and you also have the memo to reference?
I think I have the changes and
hopefully
I don't.
So we were over here game planning to help you with the motion, but let's see how you do, Commissioner Franz. And if you need our, no, it's not like you got to cover it. So we're going to ask that the staff presentation be brought up so that we can show the recommendation. Too fast.
There it is. Okay, let me give this a try. I make a motion to adopt the resolution number 2039, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Indio, California, approving the plan development permit 22-10-01 pursuant to the Highway 111 corridor specific plan on certain real properties located west of Monroe Street, north of Requa Street, and east of Rubidoux Street for the Palmera Residential Development Project, inclusive of the additional conditions of approval specified in the October 26, 2022 staff memorandum. We are adding 2 new conditions. Conditions number 15. Do I need to read those, Kevin? Okay.
They're part of the record.
Okay, and condition 16, and also the removal of condition 6C from the project.
And I believe there's also a modification to condition 38.
What was the modification?
The modification was to clarify that
Rubidoux Street.
it only applied to Rubidoux Street.
And also the modification of item 38 to specify that the condition is only connected to Rubidoux Street.
I'll second.
Okay, can we take a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Fajardo,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Franz.
Yes.
Chairperson Isiano,
Yes,
motion carries.
thank you very much.
One
Staff,
quick comment.
applicant.
I'm going to put on my map groundbreaking date and the date that we're supposed to move in the first people, because I will be there. Okay? Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chair, does the commission want to take a break or are you ready to move on?
I think we're ready to move on.
Okay.
All right. All right, we're going to take a quick 3-minute recess.
She just got off work too, so it's okay.
Thanks, Brent. All right, let us know about the whole parcel versus. Yeah, I think we're good. Just talk with your clients and let's nail it down. I think we can make this really simple. Okay, let's knock it out. Okay, thank you.
Your guys' previous lot line adjustment has been completed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could submit for the other ones and knock it out.
Yeah.
Okay, it is 7:35. We'll go ahead and call our meeting back to order and move on to public hearing item 6.2, resolution number 2042, recommending approval to the city council between City of Indio and Bravo Collection LLC.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, members, Planning Commission. Again, for the record, Kevin Snyder, Director of Community Development. The item before you this evening is a proposed development agreement with Bravo Collection LLC. This development agreement would pertain to a short-term rental situation, which is a little bit different animal than you may be used to, but it is actually allowed under law for consideration. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to provide you a staff report. The applicants here, they also have a presentation they'd like to give you. This is a public hearing item, so we'll certainly want to follow the public hearing rules. But to start off, I'm going to just kind of show you the general location. So the general location of this project is at the northwest corner of Avenue 50 and Madison. This would be south of the existing Stonefield Estates development, and it is southeast of Madison Estates. It's also north of the edge of Rancho La Quinta. And then also it is southeast of a portion of the Empire Polo / El Dorado grounds, usually referred to as the Polo grounds. So the proposed project, it would incorporate a portion of what was called Stonefield 100. And Stonefield 100 is a long approved parcel map, of which the majority was developed to the north, but there were 16 lots and several tracts that were not developed to the south. And over the years, we've had different parties look at this property, look at it for potential development. But more recently, Bravo Collection LLC purchased the property, and they're actually under construction. This is a legal parcelization, so this is not a map that's coming before you. This is just a development agreement. So the request for development agreement covers 16 short-term rentals. It proposes a 50-year term, and the public benefit, and development agreements must demonstrate a public benefit. The public benefit would be 1% of annual gross receipts for all amounts charged, excluding security deposits. And this is separate from required transit occupancy taxes that are paid under the short-term rental provisions of the city. This money would be used to support affordable housing programs in the city. And why is this important? Well, the city has what's called a low mod housing fund. This money has actually accrued over the years as a result of the dissolution of the redevelopment agency for the city of Indio, and monies were provided through the successor agency. However, that source of funding is finite, and we do have several parties that are coming forward in the near term to ask for potential consideration of use of those funds, which, if approved ultimately by the Housing Authority Board, which is the city council, would reduce that fund significantly. And there is no replenishment of that funds. It's a finite source of funding. So the public benefit opportunity for consideration is that there would be a funding source for affordable housing that would, again, be 1% of the annual gross receipts for all amounts. So that includes short-term rentals. And if there's any events or anything else held there legally, and those are charged for, then again, 1% of annual gross receipts per lot or household would be payable to the city on an annual basis. So in reviewing this, there are several statutory requirements for the development agreement, and that is something that is analyzed on the staff report that was presented to you. But in quick overview, the proposed development agreement complies with all applicable provisions of the statutory regulations. This ranges from compliance with the city's general plan and zoning regulations to public noticing requirements to demonstrating compliance to CEQA. So in summary, when staff reviewed this, the proposed development agreement before you this evening complies with the statutory requirements. It also is compliant with the General Plan 2040. The project is not proposing any development. It is proposing an agreement. The development has already been approved, and the houses that are under construction, if you travel by there anytime soon, you'll see there's a lot of framing going on. Those have been already approved through the mapping process that, again, was done in 2004. It's compliant with the applicable zoning regulations. At the time that that project was approved, it was reviewed and approved under the zoning regulations, and legally, that's the zoning regulations that apply. And again, the development of the houses is being done in accordance with the applicable zoning in effect at that time. And then from the CEQA or California Environmental Quality Act point of view, there was previous CEQA environmental documentation done. Again, this is a development agreement focusing only on the operation of short-term rentals, and the actual development of the land was already covered in that prior CEQA analysis. So with that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission consider approving resolution number 2042 that would recommend to the City Council the approval of the development agreement between the City of Indio and Bravo Collection, and then also making a finding that the adoption of this resolution and forwarding of the recommendation to City Council is exempt from further environmental review pursuant to Section 15004 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. Again, prior environmental review, no further environmental review is needed. So with that, staff is happy to answer any questions. The applicant is here, as I indicated earlier. They do plan to make a presentation and be available. And obviously, this is a public hearing. And so throughout the public hearing process, staff can respond to any questions that the commission has. Thank you.
Before we ask the applicant to speak and open the public hearing, are there any questions right now no questions for staff? Okay, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing and invite the applicant to speak.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so very much for this opportunity. My name is Hector Ayala. Mi nombre es Hector Ayala. And I'm here with a part of the Bravo team, including Claudio Bravo, who is the owner and the developer of Bravo Collection. This is a family business. I am the property manager of the Bravo Homes. And we also got the son of Claudio Bravo. So we continue the lineage with the family. All right. So just a little bit of overview on who we are. The company of Bravo Developments and Bravo Luxury Rentals was built around 17 or 18 years ago in the Coachella Valley. We started building homes in the area of Palm Desert. Then we did some homes in Palm Springs, later Rancho Mirage, and now we are here in Indio. Most important, and you will see later on the pictures and the video that we brought for you, we specialize on the high-end market. We try to do the best possible homes on Bravo Developments, so then Bravo Luxury Rentals can take and get the best possible clientele. The homes that we build, usually we are able to pick the type of clientele that we need and that the city needs, and I will describe that more in the next slides. All right, so Bravo Collection, as Kevin pointed out, is in the corner of Madison and the 50th. As you know, those are heavy traffic roads, and that's why we chose this location. We didn't want at any time be in the heart of a neighborhood. We already have a lot of experience with vacation rentals. We've had many meetings with many cities. So we've gone through a lot in the last years. So when we saw this location, we thought that it was unique and that really cannot be replicated in the area of Indio. Just because of the location, we are very certain that we won't cause any trouble to the neighborhoods, and I will discuss more in detail. But that's the exact location. Obviously, as you can see, the main entrance, the main gate is of Madison, and the entire community is a fence wall for added privacy and to take away any type of noise. All right, so this is a render of how the homes will look. As Kevin informed, there will be 16 properties. Those are the square footage, usually about 5,000 to 7,000 square feet. Those are the type of homes that we build. And our projections will be close, hopefully, on monthly or yearly rental to close to $1 million on their own revenue. So those are some of the renders. Obviously, we are, available 24/7 if you guys have any questions or you need more photography, but that's exactly how it will look. We already have a project, which I will show later, which is located in Rancho Mirage. So this is exactly how the homes will look. Very modern, open spaces, wonderful pools, lots of green areas. So it will be a location that really, when you enter, there is not so many locations like that, basically anywhere in the Coachella Valley. Will be something that all of the visitors will love, and hopefully the city of Indio. All right, so talking about some of the benefits that we will bring to the city. Kevin already pointed out about the 1%, also, of course, the TOT. We believe that every year we will bring at least over 100,000 people to the city of Indio, combined between short-term rentals and long-term rentals. Usually we try to focus a lot on long-term rentals on the months of December, January, February, March, when it's a little bit easier to get longer-term rentals. Usually they do take care of the house a little better, so we love those. Just some months out of the year, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to get long-term rentals, but usually it's a mix between the two. We will create a lot of new jobs. So obviously the pool companies that clean all the pool, the house cleaning, the maintenance in order to keep the whole development always looking great, landscaper, managers, etc. Security company, so on and so forth. Obviously there will be a great economic impact of restaurants, local retail, shopping, golf courses around the area. And then of course the city tax. We estimate an average of $800,000 to $900,000 a year on TOT. Obviously, as we get more reviews and people, become really excited about coming back, obviously, year by year, we can hopefully go to the million or more. So this is basically, we did a quick review of the businesses within 5 miles. So obviously, the renters that will be there will be able to go, we have 40 gyms, 220 restaurants, shops, hair salons, all of these different retails that will obviously benefit from our renters. Now, our rental rules is usually the most important thing. I know short-term rentals sometimes tend to be a little bit difficult, but we've been extremely successful in Palm Springs and Rancho Mirage not to have any issues. What we've done is we do not allow absolutely no parties at any given time. No events are allowed. I know Kevin mentioned the events, but this is something that we don't really want to create in Bravo 7. All of the guests, if it's a family, the person who rents the house at least needs to be 35 years old. In Palm Springs, as you know, they have very strict regulations. If I'm not mistaken, it's 25. Just so you know, usually the cities have, as you know, regulations. I usually take it a notch or two or more above, so we don't have any problems. So at least needs to be 35. Now, if there are couples, if it's not a family, at least the minimum will be 40 years old. And obviously, the older they are, the less issues we can have. There will be a regulation that is absolutely quiet hours after 10 p.m. No outdoor amplified music without any device, only with a cell phone permitted during the daytime. Of course, after 10, they gotta bring it indoors. So I'm bringing a little bit of the, the regulations from Palm Springs to adapt here. Also, we will only have 2 guests per bedroom. So if the house has 5 bedrooms or 6 bedrooms, will be 10 guests or, for example, 12 guests. Now, sometimes they try to bring visitors. However, we do not allow that if we already have reached the maximum. So if a house has 5 bedrooms, that's 10 guests. If the family is only 6 guests, we do allow another 4. But if the guests are already 10, we will not allow visitors at any given time. So, no daily visitors, no more than 4 cars per house. Obviously, we are aware, like I said, we have experience on this, that we have 16 homes. If people are bringing 7 or 8 cars, we will have a lot of trouble in there. We don't want to create that, not only for the city, for the neighborhood, and also for the other people are renting. So we are placing a maximum of 4 cars. Will be on all the websites and on the contract that we send them, as well as all this information. There will be a security patrol between the hours of 6 p.m. to 3 a.m., which are usually the most problematic hours. Hopefully, we don't have to get into any issue, but there will be always security on site between 6 p.m. to 3. If any of these regulations are violated, eviction will take place by the management company, us, or by the security that we hire. So obviously we will be enforcing all the time that there is no music, that there is no extra trash, that there is no extra cars, that people are not throwing parties. Basically, our goal is to always rent to the oldest folks possible. And since we create the homes you're going to see right now in the pictures and videos, we usually are able to do that. So one of the developments, probably you say, Hector, how can you do this? How can this be possible with all the issues we have in vacation rentals in the area? Due to all these regulations that we follow, we've been successful at doing that at Bravo 7 in the city of Rancho Mirage. And in the city of Rancho Mirage, where we are located is on the Tamarisk area. It's called La Paz. That area over there, I could tell you everybody's above 50 or 60, retirees. I mean, they hear a kid in the pool, they get upset. And we are in the heart of the neighborhood. So no Madison, no 50th Street, all residential on the heart. So far, and this is something that obviously you can call the city of Rancho Mirage, we've never got a single complaint. And the reason is security, as well as trying to do our best implementing all this regulation, having also the security on site, and also we do all the check-ins in person. Now, obviously, we can get to the check-in and we have 8 people and they all look wonderful, and then we can leave and another 10 come. And that's why we have security. Sometimes I've done it a little bit myself, but obviously through the years, we became more professional. So now we have a professional company, but that doesn't mean that I also go, or Jesus or Claudio, and we always take a look. Like I say, it's a family business. So this is how we provide to the family, and we invest 24/7 on this of our time. So that was we still have it in Rancho Mirage. So far, no issues. We have 7 vacation rentals. The style is extremely similar. We've been getting people from all around the world coming, Europe, South America, everywhere. We have, guests there right now. Never a single issue. These are some of the pictures right now of Bravo 7. It will look pretty similar as the Homes on Bravo collection. Now, and Claudio can maybe talk a little bit more about this, or if you guys have questions. Our whole team, since we are Latino, I will say all the companies, if not all, are Latin companies, and most of them are located in Indio. So most of the companies that we employ, the residents live in Indio and Coachella. So all of the plumbers, electricians, framers, the window guys, everybody. And that's something that we continue once we start the management, especially for the maintenance of everything. But the build, if you ever take a look, and you are more than welcome to come, and we will show you the properties and walk you around, you will see all the companies and all the crew that is there. So these are a little bit, some of the pictures of the houses that we have for Bravo 7. That's actually Bravo 8, the entrance. A few more pictures there. We place some reviews of past guests telling how happy they were with their experience. Now, let me tell you that sometimes if you see my reviews, I get some reviews in where the guests tell me that the only thing that they have issues with is how many times I repeat them the rules, how many times the companies repeat the rules. So we have it on the website. Before the book, I remind them on the, when I send all the information for the check-in, I remind again, and then in person we remind. So it's 4 times. But I don't want to be awakened in the middle of the night. I have 2 little kids. They go to school. My wife is a school teacher. We all work very hard, and I don't want to be awakened by code enforcement or the police. To me, if a code enforcement call me, I already feel ashamed that we are not doing our job properly. So that's how serious we take it. And then this is a video, a rendering video of how it will look, Bravo Collection once it's finalized. Some of the pools will be located in the front, some other ones in the back, just to have better views of the mountain. And obviously the security will be driving around, enforcing everything. And I have to tell you that with my experience in Bravo 7, most of the people that are able to afford this type of homes are families. Usually young people are not. Also, if they ask me, I reject it. But I will say 95% of the people that really wants to come to the homes are usually families and people of a certain age, just because of the prices. So over there, we were charging, usually the average was about $3,500 a night. So in here, probably between 3,000 to 5,000. So obviously it's pretty costly. So that's a little bit of the introduction about us, and we are here to answer any questions.
Yeah, please.
All right, I'll start.
As usual.
Thanks. Couple of questions. First of all, congratulations on no complaints in Rancho Mirage at Tamarisk, because I know exactly where that is. So that's pretty impressive. So good for that. You said you have a property in Palm Springs, one in Rancho Mirage, and now this is your third one here in the Coachella Valley. Have you been doing these kind of projects outside of the valley, or how long has your company been doing this type of business?
Yeah, so in Palm Springs, we have 2 homes, one in the Movie Colony, another one in the Mesa View.
Can you,
in Palm Desert,
sorry to interrupt. Can you make sure you're speaking to the microphone so we can record you?
I'm sorry.
You.
Since I'm usually loud, so my wife tells me I'm too loud. And then in Palm Desert, we have 2 above El Paseo, so also a super quiet area. We started a short-term rental, now is a long-term rental. They are by Highway 74, Willow and Tamarisk. Mm-hmm. Very beautiful house. They look similar. If you go up, when you go to Temecula or something, you'll probably see it on your left-hand side. And then in Rancho Mirage, we have 7 vacation rentals, and now the 16 in Indio. The company started about 16, 17 years ago, but focusing mainly 100% on vacation rentals. We started in Palm Desert probably about 8, 9 years. And we started with just a small house, and we really did like the hospitality. So then we started growing and, having these ideas of creating our own communities, not to bother neighbors. That was our main idea, because obviously when we were going to meetings in the other cities, we always, heard the neighbors. And then we said, well, let's build something that we are not going to bother anybody. We create our own HOA. But then, of course, we thought in Bravo 7 that around the community, we also have neighbors. So even though there is a wall and we have our own HOA and we have it's a little bit more private than being, next to 4 neighbors, but we had to still make sure, and that was my main goal, that people will come to rent understanding that it's a quiet neighborhood like Rancho Mirage. And that's something that we want to bring over here, even though we have Madison and 50th Avenue, that we have a lot of traffic there, but that's the goal. But mainly in vacation rentals, I will say about 8 years. But the company has been since Claudio arrived from Chile. He's originally from Chile. I'm originally from Spain, and he arrived 16 or so years ago.
Excellent. I know a lot of questions people have had about short-term rentals is that houses don't have the same requirements for ADA compliance, right, for access. Mm-hmm. So because this is going to be a community that is built solely as a short-term rental or vacation rental, could be long-term, but vacation rental. And it's going to have a 50-year term. This is a long-term commitment to keep this kind of a project. Are the houses being built and designed to accommodate the needs of the ADA compliance rules, or how is that being handled throughout the project?
That will be probably a better question for our lawyer or for Claudio to address that.
Yeah. Hi, Dan Olivier, another Mueller Olivier. Dan Olivier, Nethery Mueller Olivier. I don't know specifically what ADA compliance, I mean, if to the extent that there was ADA compliance requirements with respect to these homes, I'm sure that's been satisfied. To the extent that there has not been, I have to defer to Claudio as to whether or not that has been satisfied. I don't know.
Okay, I was just curious because this is a new type of.
And I want to emphasize something else here while I'm up. It is short-term rentals are allowed, they're not required. So ultimately, it could be longer term rentals, or they could even ultimately sell homes if they wanted to, and they could perform short-term rentals or not.
Right. No, I understand. Okay.
Commissioner, I can maybe supplement. So as these are all classified as single family residences under the building codes. And so any American Disability Act or ADA requirements would to a certain extent be above and beyond that. So because they function as single family residences, yes, they are short-term rentals, but as pointed out, they can be used for other purposes, both for ownership and living purposes or long-term rental purposes. So the city has the legal authority to require, based on the adopted building codes, the applicants, certainly based on the client types that they may be attracting, they may want to consider adding ADA accessible features that are above and beyond what the code requirements are, but that would be a voluntary action.
That's good. That was just a question. I don't know. I know the rules on it's constantly changing, what you can and cannot do. So that's why I was curious on that. That was my last question. They're beautiful homes.
Thank you. Claudio is the mastermind of it. I'm just the property manager, but thank you.
No. Commissioner Fajardo, any questions for applicant?
No, I just want to say thank you very much, gentlemen, y muchísimas gracias for the presentation, and I appreciate the logo and the Bravo community. My understanding is in your Rancho Mirage development, will the services, the concierge services also be available in Indio property that you're in the process of developing?
Yes. So our idea is to have the same concierge services, of course, always making sure that these concierge services won't create any issues to the community. Obviously, if there are guests that are trying, for example, to get a driver that takes them from the airport to the house, we provide that. Or if they need a chef that goes into the house, that will be provided as well. So yeah, most of the concierge services will be there. We always provide maids, or sometimes, just people that brings them clothing or even iron their clothing. I mean, everything that we have on the website that is in concierge, we will probably provide it here, but always making sure that, that whatever we do will be in compliance with the city and respecting the community, which is our most important goal.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Those are spectacular.
Thank you.
Those homes are
I
stunning.
invite you to come anytime to see them. We'll be more than glad to have you, especially when they are completed. Muchas gracias.
I enjoy that. Thank you. Okay. And yeah, any comments to speak? Any members of the public?
There are no comments.
No request to speak. Okay. We'll close the public hearing and go to commissioner deliberation.
Honestly, the only thing I can say is that this is a very unique project. It's definitely something very different than we have in Indio or pretty much anywhere in the valley. Rancho Mirage is kind of close, but I think the location is a good location for where it is being built. I think the neighbors won't be upset very much. And I also like the fact that they do local. They hire local skills in order to keep the economy going, and that's very important for all of us, especially with the cost of everything going up every time we turn around. So I think it's great. I mean, I think it's unique, but I think what really sold me on it was the 1% toward affordable housing. We all know that we need to do it. And again, it's where to find the revenue when you want to help a developer that wants to do that. And I think this will be very good for the city in the long run. So overall, I don't see any reason why not to do this. I think it's very beneficial and will definitely put Indio in a different light. So thank you.
Okay, I agree. It's a beautiful project. I drive there past that intersection at least 3 to 4 times a day, or I'll jog around there. So I was always curious to see what your development was. And I think, again, I'm very excited to see this come to our city. It's again, it's a perfect location, and welcome. Bienvenidos a Indio. Gracias.
Commissioner Fajardo, any other comments?
Once again, just echoing the sentiments there of my fellow commissioners. Really looking forward to this property taking shape with us. In fact, driven by there myself. It's breaking ground, and have visited the Rancho Mirage communities at some point in the past, and just really appreciate the hard work, the family business model that you folks have put together, and it's an inspiration for some of the locals here in the community. So we do appreciate you bringing your brand to our market in our community. So thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, I'd just like to thank you for bringing this to Indio, and really excited that it'll help contribute to our low-income housing. And anyone care to make a motion? Okay.
Go ahead and make a motion to approve resolution number 2042, recommending approval to the City Council of the development agreement between the City of Indio and Bravo Collection LLC, and finding said adoption is exempt from further environmental review pursuant to the provisions of section 15004 of the California CEQA guidelines.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we take a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Fajardo,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes,
Commissioner Franz,
absolutely.
Chairperson Isiano.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Bienvenidos.
And Planning Commission, just so you know, this is scheduled for the City Council's November 16th regular meeting agenda, at which time we'll present the Commission's recommendation to the Council then.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Please invite us to your opening when you have it.
Gracias. Buena suerte.
Yeah.
Okay, Kevin, adelante.
Ándale, Kevin. Gracias.
Gracias. Beautiful.
Beautiful story.
All right. Staff items, Kevin?
Yes, so a couple things. So I want to go back to earlier agenda item, talk about the neighborhood meetings. So I want to assure you that we do encourage neighborhood meetings, both in person or virtual. Obviously, we can't mandate. For a while, bluntly, it was more virtual, but now it's what we are. We're encouraging that happen. We do. But I don't remember if I reported this previously or not, but when the City Council considered the Planning Commission's recommendations for the zoning regulations, there was a neighborhood review. Me, thank you. Let me start over. God, I'm having problems with the microphone tonight. I may just leave and go home. Real fast, neighborhood review meeting. Again, we do encourage applicants to conduct them And we do encourage both that they be in person if possible or virtual. We can't mandate either one. Certainly with the pandemic, we encourage more virtual, but where we are right now with the current state of the pandemic, we will continue to encourage in person as much as possible. There's obviously a convenience factor, particularly if the applicants are not local for the virtual, but we will encourage that. What I was going to say about the zoning regulations is when the Planning Commission made a recommendation to City Council on the new zoning regulations, there was in Article 6 a requirement for neighborhood review meetings. When the City Council considered that, they elected to remove that requirement. So that requirement is not in there. However, we will continue to encourage that neighborhood meeting. I would say the majority of the applicants are very responsive to that. We haven't had any pushback from any applicant saying that they wouldn't do it. So I think that we do have a willingness to do that, but we will push for as much in person as possible. I understand the importance of the commission, but also understand that, you know, from a staff perspective, we can only ask, we can't mandate. We still have a fair amount of development activity going on in the city. We do anticipate there'll probably be some slowdown in the residential activity, single family residential activity, just because of the mortgage rate situation. But we still have a lot of active single family residential building going on. We probably expect that will take place in first quarter of 2023 when we'll see that slowdown in single family. However, we do have a balancing of that with lots of commercial activity, and as evidenced by tonight, a fair amount of potential multifamily activity. You're going to have another project coming forward to you on November 21st that is going to include a multifamily component. We received in our processing, are preparing to bring to you an application for another 180 unit affordable housing project. That project is the same developer as the Royal Crossing project that the Planning Commission reviewed about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, on Jefferson, south of its intersection with Highway 111. They're looking again about 180 units. This will be in the Avenue 44 near Gulf Center Parkway. So that project is currently going through its early entitlement processing, and we will be bringing that to you probably, I would say, right after the first of the year, perhaps a little bit earlier, but probably around then. In addition, I wanted to share with you, so you recently approved Texas Roadhouse. So in talking to the team behind that, they plan to break ground in December. And you can be, according to them, you'll be sitting inside in June of 23.
Wow.
So yeah, I was impressed with that construction timeline. So
we need to get an invite to the grand opening.
I know,
Okay.
believe me, I'm hearing loud and clear. Yes, a lot of times those are coordinated through our chamber, but we will make sure that you guys get the invitation. I've gotten the message loud and clear.
Jackie with the invites, like Eric with the parapets.
Yeah, I think whenever I hear about something, I'm just going to send you guys an email. Just that way, in case it doesn't get forwarded from someone else. We're also going to be probably coming back to you in the near future to look at some potential revisions to the downtown specific plan, some things as we've worked with it on, we've learned some things that we want to bring to you to get your thoughts and ideas on possible changes, minor changes, not wholesale changes. But for example, there's been some confusion around the thrift shops versus antique shops, land uses as an example. And so we want to kind of come back and talk to the commission about that and get your thoughts that ultimately will go back to council. We're also going to be working on a set of regulations to bring for the planning commission to consider and make a recommendation to council on events on residential properties. So we do have some large properties in our city where they are both short-term rentals, but are in large part utilized for events. And we need to have a way to kind of put better controls on those. So we're going to be working some policies to bring to the Planning Commission for you to give your input and thoughts on, and ultimately your recommendation to City Council. That's something that we think is needed. Mr. Lopez, I think you had asked a question about the number of self-storage facilities. I don't have an exact number. I was trying to look it up real fast, but you heard about one this evening at the project consultation. I'm aware of at least 2 other potential applications, and you've reviewed several recently. There seems to be a very strong market for these. Certainly with the new zoning regulations, you'll have a much more ability to control the design and development of them than you've ever had in the past. So I think some of the issues and concerns you've had with them in the past, hopefully the new zoning regulations will help you be able to address those. They are permitted in certain areas of the city. You went through that in the zoning code update. So I would say that I'm aware of, kind of circulating out there currently, about 3. Yeah.
It seems like we're talking about them all the time, right?
There's been a lot that's come to you over, let's say, the last year and a half, 18 months. You've seen a number of applications, but in terms of ones that haven't appeared before you yet, including the one, this was a project consultation, so not a formal application. I'm aware of 3 potential new ones.
So
like the ones that we're mentioning were near us are ones that have come in the last year.
Yeah, I would like to, and maybe so we don't ask you guys the same question every time and there's more coming, maybe if you can get like a map that says how many and where and what kind of storage, because there's different types of storage.
So we can give you a map that shows the locations of what has been approved, and we can tell you whether it's under construction, open. So we can work with our GIS folks on that. But you actually kind of veered into my next reporting item. So we are finalizing and hope to have launched in the next, I'll say, I'll just be conservative, 2 weeks, a development tracking dashboard. So you will be able to go online as a citizen or as a commissioner, and you'll be able to go online. There'll be a map. It'll be interactive. There'll be points all over the city. You touch on that point and you'll get project information. So we've been working on this for a while. Unfortunately, we had some staff changes and the people that were working on it moved on. But Nicholas Gutron on our team has been working with Tony Sturgill, our GIS analyst, and they have been carrying the football on this for the last couple of months, and we're just about ready to launch it. So that's a really exciting thing that will be an asset to yourselves, to the community. So if someone says, what's going on over at X, you can say, hey, go to the city's website here, and we'll make sure you have that information. And you can actually look at it. You can look at the plans and get more information about it. So you want to sit there and scratch your head and email or text us and go, what's this project?
Very cool.
So that's something that we're very excited about. We've been working on it for quite a while. So we're happy.
So who's going to update that and how often? Because I mean, what was available last week isn't the same as this week.
Correct. So that's a great question. So our Nicholas Gutron is our assigned person on staff. He'll be working on a continuous basis with Tony on our GIS team to update that. What we will do is we will have projects that will, once they're deemed complete and we've started processing, they will go up on there. And then depending on the nature of the project, we may take them down when the land use entitlement is done. Or if it's such a significant project or impactful project, we know that we're going to get a lot of questions about, we may keep it up through the building phase and the construction phase. And just keep updating it through that. So as it goes from the land use side and goes into the building side and the engineering side. So we'll kind of make a judgment call. So for example, we get a fair number of phone calls about the Royal Crossing project. It's right on Jefferson Street. They're framing it right now. If we get inquiries, what's going on. So that's an example of a project that we will keep up probably all the way till it's done, just because it's significant enough that people will be interested. But not every project will be left up, but that's an example of some. So and that will be looked at on a continuous basis and updated on a continuous basis.
Will the program be able to, like for us, we get our packet and it says, storage, that we'd be able to go in and type and say storage, businesses or storage units, and it would like ping everyone in the city? Or are we not quite there?
It's not that interactive yet. This is version 1.0. Let us launch version 1.0 and get it up and running, and then we'll work on 2.0. So I know where you're going. It's actually something I've seen other cities do, and it allows you to search based on, like you said, gas station or mini storage or whatever, based on the type of development. So that is something that we'll work towards. But we wanted to get this version launched soon so that it's an asset to the community. And that also, I wanted to, if you haven't seen it, there is a new sign up at the northwest corner of Oasis and Bliss. It's called Skyline at Oasis and Bliss. This is the mixed use development that the commission looked at several years ago. That is going to be the 4-story development with the ground floor commercial and the 3 stories of apartments above it. So there's a new ownership group, and they are in for their building plan review. We're working with them right now. And they've stated a goal that they want to beat COD. in terms of being open and leasing.
Okay.
So we'll see. So COD's going pretty fast, but I think these guys can meet that. So I'm happy to report that after a while, that project, it didn't go anywhere in terms of didn't go away. It was still here, but there were some things going on, a change in ownership. So now we have a new ownership group. They're motivated. The plans are in. We're reviewing them, and they're very eager to break ground after the first of the year, hopefully. So that project will hopefully continue to move forward. Indio Marketplace. So that project, we anticipate that they will break ground at the end of this calendar year or right after the first of the year. They're just marshaling up their resources. So some of these projects that you've seen and talked about and heard about, those are starting to come to fruition. And so your I guess, for lack of a better word, your patience is paying off, so to speak, because now they're actually starting to happen. And then the very last thing is tonight you had your first, you're kind of your second, but kind of first interaction with the Highway 11 corridor specific plan. And so we are getting a lot of interest along Highway 11 corridor right now. And so we have a lot of parties coming in and talking to us. And it's exciting. You just approved the Home 2 Suites a few weeks ago. This evening you approved Palmera. We probably have a half a dozen parties that are looking at various properties along there, either for commercial or more multifamily development. So, and we've gotten, and I'm sharing this with you because they've looked at the plan and we're getting good feedback about the plan that you helped develop. And I wanted to share that with you, that people haven't looked at this and said, oh my God, what is this thing? They're saying, no, this is interesting. We can work with this. They have some questions, they have some clarifications, and we're working through those. But I wanted to share that with you, that there's been positive feedback from the marketplace so far early. Obviously, we haven't had a lot of projects work through it, but the Palmera team has been very positive about it. They tracked it all the way through, including its adoption. So I just wanted to share that with you, because sometimes you don't get to hear from the marketplace that the plan is, every time there's a plan adopted, people worry that it's going to create waves, but so far these waves have been positive, and hopefully that will continue.
I did notice that when they did their presentation, that they tied it to the general plan. They tied it to the Highway 111. They did a really good job to make it easier for us, I think, to go, okay, this makes sense. It fits everything that we've been talking about for years.
Right.
So I really enjoyed it. And I agree with you. Part of that is that the Highway 111 corridor, they were able to just kind of check the boxes, follow through. And there wasn't a lot for us to say because it was already within the plans. So that was phenomenal.
And I agree. And that's what, as we go into this further, staff, we will also continue to do that as well. So one of the things that we're working on right now is internal trainings for staff, both on the new zoning regulations and on the Highway 11 corridor specific plan. We're actually having the consultant teams that you met that worked on both. They're going to help train staff, not only from our department, but from other departments. So we're hoping to do that. And if there's interest on the part of the Plan Commission, even though you helped develop it, it might be interesting for you to actually come back and hear about the implementation of it as well. So we're happy to extend that training to the commission if there's interest. But the staff, we'll have folks from building, planning, public works, code enforcement, Indio Water Authority, all being involved in these trainings, so they all get the exposure to the new zoning regulations and the new specific plan. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Gas station, when's the groundbreaking for the gas station?
The new gas station.
The Jefferson and Varner one?
I would say a while. If you go by there hasn't been a little activity, not a lot of activity recently. They were doing filling. So on that project, I can't tell you when that's going forward. Is there another spot you were thinking of?
I thought they were going to have a grand opening or something, ribbon cutting or something for the gas station.
So is this?
Gas station?
Oh, the Ralphs.
Oh, Ralphs.
The Jefferson
Oh, yes.
and Varner.
Okay. Sorry. I thought when I was thinking up on. So Ralph's, they are going to do it. They did a soft opening yesterday. So they're open for business. They're going to have a grand opening event, but they're open for business. But they do plan, what they're doing is they're trying to tie it back to the greater grand opening. This is the canopy at Citrus. So they have a plan of having all of their tenants in right around to the first of the year. And if I actually went on a tour, and they're moving at lightning speed out there right now. And they have, they're about 80% leased out. Yeah, so it's pretty amazing. So from talking to the superintendent when I went on that impromptu walking tour, my understanding is they're going to try to tie it all together. So it might be later towards the end of the year, but as soon as we hear of anything, I promise you guys will know as well, and you will be invited. Yeah, that was the one when it said Jefferson and Varna, I'm like, that's got a long ways to go before a grand opening. So any other questions I can answer for the commission?
I have one more. You know, we keep talking about housing and everybody talks about these numbers that we have to meet for the state. So with these kind of projects, how are we looking with the number that we need to hit? And, you know, it looks like we're doing, I think, okay, but I don't know for sure.
That's a great question. So when our housing element that you helped develop was approved by the state, certified by the state, we had to plan for 7,812 total housing units. 2,963 of those had to be affordable. So you have the best way to, that started in October of 2021. It goes to October 2029. So we will be putting together an annual tracking report. We have to do that now. We have to report our housing production numbers to the state. So this evening, you saw 345 housing units, market rate. And so remember that the affordable housing units, that's based on income levels. So there's, and it's classified as extremely low income, below 30%, very low income, 31 to 60%, average income, 61 to 80, and above income, which is over 80%, 80 to 120%. So we will be tracking it that way. But the example tonight, these will be in that above. Any single family homes that are market will typically be above based on the prices. So we can put together a preliminary accounting for you. But that didn't start till October 2021. So for example, Arroyo Crossing, we didn't get to count Arroyo Crossing. That was under the old housing element. So we didn't get to count those 400 units because it had to be from October 2021 to October 2029. So, but I can come back at the next meeting and give you those numbers. I just don't have them off the top of my head this evening.
That'd be great. The only other question I have is those 2 Oasis projects that came before us when they acted like they were like ready to put the shovel in the ground.
Yep.
Do we have a shovel in the ground?
We don't have shovels in the ground, but we do have entitlement applications that are being processed, and those will be coming to you, I believe, in December.
Nice.
Okay.
So both projects will be coming to you.
This is becoming fun.
Well, we try to make it fun as much as we can, other than when I have to say, sorry, I can't allow that.
Okay, no more commissioner comments? Okay, meeting adjourned till next planning meeting, Wednesday, November 9th, 2022.
Good night, everybody.